Hello, and welcome to another episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that's going to upset some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, all that feminine energy work that you've been doing, the journaling, the meditation, the self love practices, those boundary setting exercises, it's not actually fixing your love life. Now, I know this is going to sound harsh, but hear me out. There's a reason why you can do all the inner work in the world and still end up the same relationship patterns over and over again. I see this all the time. And once you understand this particular dynamic, this is going to change everything for you. So let me be clear though, feminine energy work does work. It works almost temporarily and it helps you to be more receiving, surrender, letting go. And when you journal about your boundaries, you feel empowered, maybe for a week. Maybe you meditate on self-love and you feel connected to yourself for a few days. You might do a manifestation ritual and then you feel hopeful straight after. You feel good. And then the same fears, worries, or those doubts, they come up again. And then you keep meeting that guy who's emotionally unavailable. Suddenly, all of that goes out the window because you're thrown back into deja vu. You're feeling this over and over again, repeating your relationship pattern. And you're back to sacrificing, you're back to performing, you're being the one leading and initiating the relationship, and you're back to trying to fix him. And you're probably sitting there thinking, but I did the work, all that inner work. I journaled, I meditated. Why do I have to do this over and over again? I've probably been doing it for years now. And I thought, if it's not about the dating apps, it's just all about the inner work. So here's why. This feminine energy work, it's surface level, right? It's conscious inner work. That's true. It's beautiful work. It's important work, but it's not actually addressing the root cause. It's just the symptom. So when you think about this, if you have a headache, you can take an aspirin or Panadol and you feel better for a few hours. It's temporary. But the headache is actually being caused, say, by a brain tumor or something much more serious. The aspirin isn't going to fix the tumor. It's actually going to just mask the pain temporarily. So feminine energy work is kind of like the aspirin. And the subconscious identity work. And your subconscious identity is the root cause. When you journal about boundaries, you're using your conscious mind to tell yourself that you deserve better. I'm going to set boundaries. But your subconscious mind is still running the old program that says your worth comes from what you do for other people. That love means sacrifice. That if you just try hard enough, you can fix what's unfixable. So then what happens? Your conscious mind sets that boundary. You feel good for a day or two, but then your subconscious mind kicks in, that automatic programming, and suddenly you're texting him at 2 a.m. or you're making excuses for his behavior. Everyone is telling you what you should be seeing, and you're back to your usual pattern. Does that sound familiar? And that's because your identity hasn't changed. You're still operating from that belief that maybe you're the rescuer, you save people, you fix people's problems. You're the one who loves and overgives too much. So if you're in that situation, no amount of journaling is going to fix or change that. That's why feminine energy work, that inner work, it feels really good in the moment and it's a beautiful layer to add on top, but it doesn't create lasting change. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that lasting change is and how to do it. So you're doing all that inner work, all the inner work. You're reading the books, you listen to the podcasts, you go to therapy, you're journaling, you meditate, you do the affirmations, you're trying manifesting. You visualize your dream relationship, you've done all that. And for a moment, you feel really good, like things are going to change. This time it's going to be different. You finally figured it out. This is the thing. This is the key to it, right? But then without fail, you find yourself in the same pattern again. Different guy, same dynamic, different situation, same outcome. And you're left wondering, what's wrong with me? Why can't I break this cycle? I can do everything else in my life, but I just can't get this part, the love and relationships. Here's what is actually happening. Your conscious mind has changed. That's great. That's what the inner work has helped do. Your conscious mind knows that you shouldn't stay with those emotionally unavailable men. Your conscious mind knows that you do deserve better. Your conscious mind knows that it has all the right information. But your subconscious mind, it's still running the old program. And your subconscious mind is infinitely more powerful than your conscious mind. In fact, neuroscience shows us that about 95% of our behavior is driven by our subconscious, and only about 5% is actually driven by the conscious. So you can have all that conscious knowledge in the world, But if your subconscious is still programmed to believe that you're only worthy when you're sacrificing, when you're fixing, when you're giving too much of yourself, when you're performing from your mask, then your behavior is always going to contradict what you know consciously. You're going to say, I'm done with emotionally available men. This is the last time. And then you'll meet one and feel magnetically drawn to him. Has that happened for you? Why? It's because your subconscious recognizes the pattern. It's pattern recognition. It's familiar. It feels like home for you, even though that home was never safe. And you say you're going to stop performing, but then you'll spend 3 hours getting ready for a date because you still feel like your subconscious believes that you're only worthy if you look perfect and you look the best that you can. You tell yourself this time you're going to ask for what you need. And then he asks how you're feeling and you just shut down. And then you can't be vulnerable. Why? Because your subconscious learned early on that vulnerability equals abandonment. Maybe that's happened to you. And the pattern repeats itself because your identity at the subconscious level hasn't changed. And you're still operating from the same subconscious beliefs that created that pattern in the first place. And that's why feminine energy work, it alone doesn't fix your love life because it's not actually addressing the root cause, which is the identity. And that's just putting a Band-Aid on the wound. Okay, so let me break down the difference between identity and strategy because this is crucial. You can have all the strategies in the world, and this is the what and the how. This is something like set your boundaries, do your affirmations, journal about what you want, meditate, visualize, take those actions, go on dates, be vulnerable, right? These strategies are all the things you do that you need the strategy. But this strategy without identity change, it's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on. You can press the accelerating pedal all you want, but you're not going anywhere. Now, the identity is the who. This is who do you believe you are? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about love? What do you believe about your own self-worth and your own self-esteem? This identity, it's the subconscious programming that's running in the background 24/7. So here's an example. Let's say you have the identity of the rescuer. I know that I do, or I did at one point. And deep down you believe my worth only comes from what I do for others. That love means sacrifice. If I just try hard enough, I can fix anything. And that my needs don't matter if someone else is going to be happier. So you can use all the strategy in the world. You can set your boundaries. You can journal. You can meditate. You can say to yourself over and over, I deserve a healthy relationship. But your identity is still the rescuer. So what happens? You meet a guy who's struggling. Your subconscious recognizes that pattern. It feels familiar. It feels like home. It feels attractive. And suddenly all your strategy and all the inner work that you've just done, it just goes out the window. So you're back to sacrificing, compromising, trying to fix him, putting his needs before yours maybe. Because your identity is still that rescuer. That hasn't been changed yet. But what if we changed your identity at that subconscious level? What if instead of becoming the rescuer, you became an integrated feminine leader? What if your subconscious belief became, my worth is inside, it's inherent, I don't have to earn it. Love means mutual support and reciprocity. I can only help people who are willing to help themselves. That's super healthy. That my needs matter just as much as everyone else's does, and I don't keep putting everyone else above mine. Now, when you meet that same kind of struggling guy, now something different happens. Your subconscious doesn't recognize that pattern as familiar anymore. In fact, it doesn't feel like home. So this actually feels wrong, and that's like a mismatch. So that same guy with your different subconscious is going to have a different reaction for you. So naturally, without effort, without forcing it, and trying to force your boundaries, you just naturally are not attracted to him and he's not attracted to you. Why? Because your identity has changed. That's the difference between a strategy and shifting your identity. So to summarize, strategy is what you do and identity is who you are. And when you change your identity, your behavior changes automatically. You don't have to force it anymore. You don't have to remember what you're supposed to do. And you don't have to hold firm of your boundaries. You don't have to hold your standards super high, because now your subconscious is running a new program, and that new program is actually aligned with who you've actually become. So what does subconscious repatterning actually change? So what actually happens when you reprogram your subconscious identity? Let me tell you what I've seen happen with the women I've worked with. Firstly, your attraction patterns change. You stop being magnetically drawn to emotionally unavailable men or whatever type of Achilles heel man that you keep attracting. You stop seeing those potential in guys who are clearly not ready, and you stop confusing all that chaos and drama with chemistry and excitement and butterflies. Instead, you become attracted to men who are actually available. Men who can show up for you, who can lead and guide you, who want to build something with you and not use you as emotional support and therapy for their own problems. So men who have not been in your radar before, maybe you might have dismissed them as boring or, I'm not attracted to them. The ones who've done their inner work, who have a balanced masculine, they're going to start to appear for you and start to look attractive. Your subconscious just stops being interested in those unavailable, misaligned men because now your identity has changed. You're no longer the rescuer pattern type. And rescuing doesn't feel like the equivalent of love for you anymore. It just feels like a waste of your time and energy now. Now, secondly, your behavior also changes automatically. So you don't have to keep performing. You don't need to keep trying to be perfect, and you stop sacrificing your own needs, not because you're forcing yourself to, and not because you're really digging down on your boundaries, but because your subconscious identity has shifted. And when you're that integrated feminine leader, someone who is balanced, who is feminine yet empowered, the performing doesn't feel like survival anymore. It's too exhausting and it feels really inauthentic. So naturally, without effort, you start to show up in your authentic energy and you let him see the real you, the vulnerable part, and that's natural. Then that magical part happens, that when men start to fall for you, not that image that you keep projecting. Now, thirdly, your nervous system recalibrates, and this is huge. Most people don't talk about it. When you've been operating from a system that used to serve the old you, the one that moves through masculine energy, forces things to happen because you don't think it's fast enough or good enough, it's that it's going to work, or whatever control habit you might have, when it finally understands that you don't have to earn love through sacrifice anymore, everything shifts. And not because you're trying harder, that's the masculine, but because you're finally safe enough to be yourself, the authentic, aligned you. Now, your nervous system has just one job: to keep you alive. And for years, it's been doing that job by keeping you in protection mode. That one of those 4 success pattern types is protecting you. If you're a rescuer who protects yourself by being needed, an overachiever is going to protect yourself by proving your own worth. The perfectionist is going to protect yourself by controlling everything. Hyper-independent woman is protecting herself by needing no one and rejecting everyone else first. Now, these patterns kept you safe. They kept you in control, but they also kept you small. But here's what happens when your nervous system finally recalibrates, when it learns that you're safe being authentically you. When it understands that your worth isn't something you have to earn by doing, it's just something you are by being. Your entire self, your entire being shifts into creation mode, not protection mode, not survival mode, creation mode. And that is where the real magic happens. Because when your nervous system is in creation mode, you're not performing anymore. You're not trying to be someone you think other people want. You're not dimming your light, shrinking yourself to make someone else feel comfortable. You're just you, the most authentic, most aligned, most spiritual version of you. And that version that's always been there underneath all that protection. And when you show up as that version of yourself, everything changes. The men who used to attract you, the ones who needed fixing, the ones who made you feel needed, the ones who kept you in that old pattern, they stopped showing up. Or maybe you've stopped seeing them as attractive. Not because you're rejecting them, but because your nervous system isn't signaling danger anymore and signaling alignment. Your nervous system isn't saying, okay, here's that man who needs rescuing. That's familiar. That is what is safe, even though logically it doesn't make any sense. Now, your nervous system is in full creation mode. And in creation mode, you naturally attract people who are aligned with who you actually are. Men who don't need fixing, men who are actually secure, men who actually choose you. Not because you're useful or you can do things for their image, but because you're you. This is how we're supposed to be, especially as women. Not in protection mode, not in survival mode, in creation mode, in full flow, in this amazing fullness of who we actually are as spiritual beings having this human experience. Because when your nervous system recalibrates, you stop trying to make things happen. You stop forcing connections. You stop overgiving. You can turn off and finally exhale. And then you allow things to happen. You surrender to it. You allow those aligned people to come into your life, and you allow love to find you. You allow yourself to be chosen. This is what the core attraction method does. This is the one-to-one container. We don't just teach you strategies or give you tools. We're going to reprogram your subconscious mind at the identity level so that your most authentic, most aligned self becomes your natural state. We're going to help you recalibrate from protection mode to creation mode. If you haven't taken the Love Blindspot audit yet, take it now. This is your first step to actually diagnose which of your pattern has been running your nervous system to keep you safe. After that, I'm going to send you an email with a link to have a conversation about what's possible for you and whether the core attraction method is the right container for you, as I'm only taking a limited number of applications. So if this completely resonates with you, if you're feeling like this is the right path forward for you, if you've done all the inner work and still nothing seems to change, this could be the right next step for you. So go ahead, click on the Love Blindspot audit, or you can go to my website and apply directly. I'll see you in the next episode.